Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. More importantly, staying safe. It's been pretty active out there over the last few days. Very active yesterday with a moderate risk that I would say ended up meeting expectations. We had huge hail, 5-inch size hail in diameter, 4 to 5 inch. We had multiple tornadoes reported in Alabama, Southwest Georgia, confirmed tornadoes that we will actually see how strong they were, their EF rating, probably as we get into today, into tomorrow as the National Weather Service goes out there and does their surveys. But it's pretty active, and today will be just as active. You know, we talked about this in yesterday evening's video. We had a slight risk, right? This has went up 2 categories overnight. Now we have a moderate risk, level 4 out of 5. One more level and you get to a high risk. So that's as high as you get. Tornado threat, and a big-time hail and damaging wind threat. Okay, so we'll discuss all that in this video. We'll discuss everybody else too. So just a quick reminder, it takes about 10 minutes in these long videos after the video actually drops to put tabs in this video. And I'm kind of doing everything on the fly. So if you're wondering, if you're one of those people, as soon as the video uploads, you click it and you're like, well, where's the tabs? It's just because I haven't had a chance to add the tabs. So wait about 5 or 10 minutes and the tabs will be up in there, and you can just skip to the areas that you just need to see and watch. And I completely get it. Not everybody wants to watch a 25-30-minute video. You just want to kind of see what's going on for your area. So I do that for you guys. Take advantage of it for sure. But with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over? As always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's check out water vapor loop out there and what's going on. There, you know, there's already a lot going on, just making sure this thing's working. You got already severe storms out there across areas of the deep south. Same scenario as yesterday morning. We already had ongoing severe weather, and that is the case again. We got severe weather ongoing in these areas in white you see. That basically symbolizes more water content in the atmosphere, and in this case, in the form of storms. You also have this upper level trough kind of digging down into this region right into here. This will spark thunderstorm development in Ohio today. There will be a marginal risk for severe storms, level 1 out of 5. But the big area is down here. We have this weak ridging still in place, and it's somewhere in here. Very weak. It's been beat down, but it'll probably rise up again here in the coming days. But anyways, let's focus in on today. We are going to have low pressure development that will eject somewhat across this area. And I'm trying to draw as best as I can. And with it, you're going to have, ample amounts of low-level moisture that rises into this region all the way up to the low pressure. All right, and then you're going to have somewhat favorable kinematics for this time of the year. Winds aloft that support tornadic development. That's what I mean by that. But tons of thermodynamics. You don't even have to worry about all that, which is the surface heating, temperatures where you're standing at the surface of the earth, and moisture at the surface, Cape values, lapse rates, things like that. All that will be here. Gigantic hail, damaging winds is all almost certain in this case today. The tornado threat is a question, but you already got a 10% risk of a tornado. So in this entire area right into here, we will expect big time storms. Conditional threat into Texas, all right, where you're going to be basically this area down here is displaced from the low pressure. Lack of forcing, you're going to have tons of ingredients, but do you have thunderstorm development? And then you get rid of all that. You'll watch as whatever energy gets going to here flows southeast down basically all throughout the southern half of Oklahoma into Arkansas. So the evening hours, you got to watch out this entire region right in here as we get late into the evening hours for a round of storms. So, there's a lot to discuss here. I'm going to fly through this in a detailed manner, but I'm biting on time here, so we're going to try to spit out some good information here very quickly, but in a way you guys can understand. Ask the questions in the comments. I'm here for you guys. Broad look at what's going on from the Storm Prediction Center. We'll zoom into each individual region here. But as you can tell, we now have a moderate risk, a level 4 out of 5 here in Oklahoma, portions of southwest Kansas, very, very, very small section of the far northeast corner of the panhandle of Texas. Enhanced risk surrounding that, slight risk basically from extreme eastern and southeastern portions of Colorado all the way to the southern Gulf coastline. And yeah, it's an active day expected today. We're going to talk about the category risk here in a second, so bear with me. But this is a broad look at what's going on. Look at this little marginal risk up here. Columbus, Cleveland, even Detroit. You know, you guys could see some severe storms today. Not widespread severe weather outbreak, but you could have your own area of storms possible today. Flooding risk as of now, and I mentioned this in yesterday morning's video. I thought that this would upgrade to a moderate risk, and it did. And a lot of areas got a lot of rain. Didn't hear any huge flash flooding risk from the deep south yesterday, which is good. But I could see it being higher today because of all the rain you guys have already got. But I could see like Mobile, the western panhandle of Florida, getting like 3 to 5 inches of rain throughout between now and the next 24 hours. But just a slight risk in these two areas. Wyoming, you guys could see a lot of rain today. Basically from the northern area of this low pressure, a lot of moisture in this region. Multiple inches of rain up here. But this is in both the yellow areas, a 15% risk of a flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles of any given location. You look at watches, warnings, the green, that is flood watches. All right, so you already got them up for Wyoming, portions of western Nebraska, heat advisories up in the orange down here in Texas, Louisiana, excessive heat warnings down here in the, let me see if that's correct. Yes, excessive heat watches. Okay, excessive heat watches in that dark red you see, and then you got the excessive heat warnings in those dark pink, which is different than this kind of hot pink color, which is, there's red flag warnings. But I mean, even heat advisories in the Miami area. Very hot, humid air, dew points into the upper 70s, air temperatures into the 90s, which means your heat indices are going to be well over 100, 105, 110 degrees. So please be aware of this today. Let's talk about the south central U.S. And I know typically we talk about the southeast first, but we're going to work south central, southeast, northeast, north central, then the western U.S. That's the way we're going to work this video this time. So, deep breath. Moderate risk up. This includes almost all the way up to Dodge City. In fact, I would say it does include Dodge City, Kansas, maybe the enhanced moderate, right on the line. Just say moderate risk. Don't focus so much on that, though. Woodward, Oklahoma, all the way down to Oklahoma City, Lawton, Weatherford, Oklahoma, Sealing, Elk City, Mangum, Altus, Hobart. There's a lot of names that are a little tricky in western Oklahoma. Fairview, Watauga, Enid. But listen, all you guys, basically in western Oklahoma, unless you're in the far western panhandle of Oklahoma, explosive storms today. You guys are in the moderate risk. Enhanced risk surrounds this, all the way down to the Red River, all the way up into southwest Kansas. Slight risk extends. You got a little nudge all the way into central Kansas. I want to let you guys know, please don't get mad at the local meteorologists in central Texas if you get absolutely nothing but partly cloudy skies. This is a very conditional threat down here in Texas. You might not get any storm development. You might get a couple explosive supercells. But it's very conditional down here. You're away from that low pressure. A little bit of cap in place, and you're going to have an issue trying to get storms to get going down here. A quick note, and I'll say this really quick. Typically, if you're really, really, really hot, really, really, really humid, with hardly no winds, you're going to struggle to get thunderstorm development. But if you are those things I just said, if you do get thunderstorm development, I mean, they're going to go from like hardly a cloud in the sky to just a severe warm storm in a matter of like 15 minutes. Okay, it's just, you got to break through to all those thermodynamics in the atmosphere. Basically, all the ingredients, they're there. So just keep that in mind. But the slight risk extends all the way through southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana. I could see the enhanced risk kind of tonguing down all the way down into northern Louisiana through northeast Texas, southwest portions of Arkansas, where this line of storms will kind of sweep through into the late evening hours. But tornado risk today, yellow, 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. You don't have a hatch risk yet, but the yellow, and that includes areas up to Dodge City, Woodward, down through the Red Hills area, down to that kind of the Sealing area, down to Weatherford. Okay, so you guys have a 10% risk of a tornado, 5% risk into Oklahoma City, all the way down to basically the Fort Worth area and just west. So hail risk and damaging wind risk today, guys, by far the biggest threat. You have not only a 45% risk in the purple area to see hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, and we'll explain it every time just for any new viewers that don't understand. You also have a hatch risk surrounding both the 45% risk in the purple and the 30% risk in the red of significant hail. So that means you have a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. But you might as well say you got a larger chance of that because you're going to get hail larger than 2 inch in diameter out here. Okay, you definitely are. Big time hail threat, pretty much a 50-50 shot to see a hailstorm in this purple area. That's not what that means, but you might as well say that's what it means. Wind threat today. There is a 45% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. 30% risk area in the red. That is a 30% risk to see the same criteria. Winds pushing 50 knots or higher. And then the yellow is the 15% risk. But you got the hatch risk. That means there's a 10% risk of significant winds, which means you also have a 10% risk of winds pushing basically hurricane force winds, 65 knots or higher in this case. This includes Oklahoma City. You guys are under the gun for a big time hail threat and a big time damaging wind threat. You guys got to be aware in this area today. These storms are going to mean business. Typical of more of a May setup, late April, May setup. But here we are mid-June and we're rocking and rolling. Please be ready of this. So let's talk about how this can evolve today. We'll start off around 7 a.m. If you're confused about what time frame we're at, back this up 1 hour. This is Eastern time, so we're obviously in Central time here, so back this up 1 hour. So we'll get going here in time. We'll take it all the way to lunchtime. Not a whole lot going on. We'll take it all the way to 2 p.m. Here comes one storm firing off out of southeast Colorado. This begins to drift into southwest Kansas, and it begins to cluster up. And if you're going to have any kind of supercells, it's going to be kind of right now, right? This is around 5 p.m. Big time storms just near, I would say, the liberal Kansas area. Very, very small towns and communities here and kind of the panhandle right here of Oklahoma. But Dodge City, I say your worst weather is going to probably have a chance to move through sometime 5, 6, 7 p.m. But then watch down here, watching this area right here. Boom, storms explode. This is around 7 p.m. And I mean, guys, I can spit out towns until the cows come home. But I mean, if you live in any kind of town in western Oklahoma in this region, you stand a chance to see significant severe weather, which is all those criteria I just met. But these storms get going. This is what it could look like around 7 p.m. based off the HRRR model. These down here could be producing a tornado, especially the further north you work. If you can get any of these storms closer to the low pressure, which will be right up in here, to become discrete, which will be hard to do. The closer you get to the low pressure, the more forcing you have. The more these storms are going to go what we call linear, which they're just more so a line of storms, which the structure does not support a tornado threat. You meet somewhere in the middle, which is right where that 10% risk area is. You get any storm to become discrete for sure, tornado threat becomes high, okay? But these storms quickly kind of merge all together. You're around 8 p.m., and these are knocking on the doorstep of Oklahoma City. Explosive storms. These are working into kind of west central and then central Oklahoma, 8, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and then they begin to move more so kind of from northwest to southeast instead of more so west to east as they begin to round the upper portion of this upper ridge right down here. And then this is what becomes concerning. You know, it's after daylight. It's when the sun sets. It's around 11 p.m. at this point. These storms are starting to sink into northeast Texas. How much of a punch are they still packing? A little unsure, but I can tell you they're probably still packing one heck of a punch into this region, into northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma. And I mean, this is around 1 to 2 a.m. Watch out, Mary, you guys. Another round of severe storms blasting through into the overnight hours too. But you know, these could sneak into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They very well could. But I think the worst will be the more northeast you work. And then they start to dive a little bit deeper into Arkansas, Louisiana. We'll talk about those areas here in a second because I'm not going to leave you guys high and dry. But explosive storms, guys, and we'll dip down to Texas. This is the big question mark in Texas. We know about these storms, right? We just kind of mentioned them. But what about down here in the slight risk, Mitch? I don't see anything getting going. We're at 4 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. I mean, this is about mid-afternoon. There's nothing going. But I'm telling you, just because you don't see anything on this map down here in Central Texas does not mean nothing's going to happen. So Stevensville, Fort Worth, I mean, all the way down to Hico, Hamilton, you guys could see some storms down into this region. But we just got to see if this bursts through that area of kind of stable air aloft and just you get a storm development anyways. All right. You move a little bit further east, and this is what I meant to pull up right here. Arkansas, northern Louisiana, these storms will move through. Here they go, blasting through. We kind of already talked about this a little bit, but if you're in southern Arkansas, especially southwest portions of the state, after midnight, these storms could be quite powerful. Shreveport, these things could blast through around 2 to 4 a.m. Tonight into tomorrow morning, and these will continue. That's why the slight risk now extends all the way into this region, is because they're expecting these lines of storms to somewhat hold together enough to potentially cause severe weather all the way into sunrise Friday morning. We're waking up, and this area of storms will continue to be chugging along into areas like Jackson, Mississippi. You guys could wake up tomorrow morning with a pretty disruptive line of storms working through. As far as impacts, guys, I want to show you this. This is winds and mile per hour readings, okay? Watch this area up here, this part of your screen. Watch how all of a sudden it gets very bright as far as colors. You got 50, 60 mile per hour winds exploding off these storms in southwest Kansas. And the storms have not really even matured yet. Here we go. These storms continue. You see this little area right in here? That is wind gust based off the HRRR model approaching 80 miles per hour. You get going here, and then look at these storms. Down here, look near the Red River. That is over 100 mile per hour wind gusts. I laugh just because I don't think that's going to happen. But all I can tell you guys is embedded in these lines of storms, hurricane force winds are almost likely. And this could blast through the Oklahoma City area. But these are some intense embedded wind gusts in this line of storms. 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe as much as 100 mile per hour winds. A derecho is not out of the question with this. Not one bit. So please be aware of this in Oklahoma. The wind threat is huge. And I mean, this continues. Look at these winds blasting through northeast Texas. Just after midnight, southwest Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma. Potentially destructive winds with these storms, okay? And then this is the updraft Felicity swath. You can see the storms kind of start up here, and then they begin to chug southeast in general. And on the southern edge of these storms will be spinning. Now, another disclaimer, another reminder, just because you see this does not mean you're going to get 100% bet that these are going to produce storms, okay? But basically where you see the more highlighted areas, this run of the HRRR model is trying to highlight the fact that these storms are going to be rotating. That does not mean they're going to latch, which means a tornado, but that means that these updrafts are going to be spinning like a top. Okay, so be aware of this because the tornado threat is there today. We talk about the ingredients really quick, and what I can tell you, low pressure up here. You can see this tongue of Cape going up here with the low pressure way up here. And Cape values riding all the way up, exceeding 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram all the way up into southwest Kansas. And this is the area to watch. Yes, you got explosive Cape down here in Cape, much higher down here in Texas. But you're lacking forcing for storm development. This is kind of the middle ground, the best overlapping of dynamics right into here. 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of Cape building into western Oklahoma. Kinematics are somewhat there. All the other ingredients for thermodynamics are here. And then you see these little hodographs, these little lines. It's called the hodograph. You see how they begin to have that loop to them? That tells me that the tornado threat is increasing in this region. So please, guys, take this serious. Take this serious today, in Oklahoma especially. The southern U.S. Listen, I could see an enhanced risk getting issued in the next update down here. I could see it. But now you got a slight risk extended all the way down to the Panhandle of Texas, southern Georgia, South Alabama. If you guys thought you were going to get a break today in these areas of the country, think again. Very active. I mean, it's active right now. So slight risk up Tornado risk, you got a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. This includes Tallahassee, Pensacola, Mobile, Alabama, and everybody in between in the Brown area. 2% risk surrounding this. Hail threat, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter in the yellow area, but the hatch risk, which includes those areas I just mentioned, Mobile, basically the western panhandle of Florida, 10% chance of significant hail, which is hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger, guys. Big deal today. Wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher within 25 miles in any given location in the yellow area. So severe weather ongoing, severe weather expected. I'm sorry I didn't have my radar pulled up this morning. It wouldn't work for me, so that's why I never pulled it up. But rainfall today, as far as storms, and this is what it's saying is going on right now. We actually take a look at the radar, and we already have a severe warning storm jetting off. It's now east of Montgomery, but this is a very intense storm. And I mean, these storms are intense too. I mean, this one's rotating right here just south of Greenville, Mississippi this morning. And I mean, you look at the velocity scan on this, I don't go live, but you can see some rotation with this, with the displacement of colors, which indicates rotation with this storm and this velocity couplet. But this one's producing damaging winds most likely. And some of these storms are already rotating this morning. That's why you got the tornado threat. Kind of the same environment as yesterday, just not as high end. So, I mean, chances are you could have another tornado warning by the time I'm done with this video. So please be aware across these areas of the country. A broad look at what could happen today. And we'll get this in motion again. These storms will continue to be ongoing, widespread down here across the deep south. More storms will develop back in Mississippi, Alabama. We'll take a closer look at all of this. These will cluster up, head towards South Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. One thing that will be a little bit different today is I could see more widespread storms further north. You could get some pop-up showers up into southern Kentucky, even kind of the central and eastern half of Tennessee. Some storms are possible, I would say widespread in South Carolina, even eastern North Carolina in general, North Georgia. These could produce severe storms. A closer look at all this and the severe impacted areas today. And you'll continue to have these areas of storms that just moves through, a little vortex that kind of moves through Georgia and southern South Carolina this morning. So, stop it here, 1-2 p.m. Big-time storms are possible in central, especially southern Georgia, northern Florida. I love calling Florida Texas. I don't know why. But you got storms cruising across the panhandle of Florida, and then you got another round of storms blasting southeast from the northwest through southwest Alabama into areas of the panhandle of Florida. This will be another round this afternoon, 4 or 5 p.m. This moves through, and you can have ongoing shower and storm activity up here in Georgia. And this is when flooding can be an issue here in southern Alabama, the western panhandle of Florida, as these storms just continue to just ride over the same areas in this region. This could be an issue. You move a little bit further north into Georgia and the Carolinas, and like I said, some intense storms are possible into this region later today. Nothing like for your neighbors to the south, but this is around 7 p.m. You got some storms up here in the upstate of South Carolina. These are very well could be into the Midlands of South Carolina. Pop-up showers and storms in North Georgia, Central Georgia. So if you've been missing on some storms up in South Carolina, which I hear it a lot, I'm more people know me locally here in South Carolina. They're always hit me up on social media and say, Mitch, we never get rain. You'll have another chance at it today. We'll see what happens. Rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. It likes Mobile into the western panhandle of Florida to see anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rain. You guys, I think, are going to get a lot. But South Georgia, North Florida, a lot of rain is possible in these regions too. Another day of heavy rain. The Northeast, and we'll include Ohio into this also. We'll back it up here. I'm starting it off a little bit. But this low pressure will spin back into Maine, so you could have some shower, even some storm that are possible up here in western Maine, especially northern New Hampshire, Vermont. These could produce some small hail. I feel like it's likely with cold air aloft. So don't be surprised in western Maine, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire for some small hail and some of these little cells that kind of wrap in from the north. It's certainly possible all throughout the afternoon and evening hours. One thing we'll watch down here, the base of an upper trough, a little surface low comes down. a little piece of energy, and you're probably going to have some storms that move in from the west, make their way eastward throughout, especially, I would say, central and northern Ohio. And I would say they would start as early as 4 p.m., last through 4 p.m., all the way through, I would say, midnight. And then will kind of turn into just more widespread rain, some heavy rain in kind of eastern Ohio, western PA, and last throughout the night, kind of move through northern West Virginia and central West Virginia. Southern Ohio could get some showers into the overnight hours, and we're waking up tomorrow morning with some shower activity in western Maryland, all the way up into the southern tier of New York State, and then southern PA could certainly wake up to some shower activity tomorrow. So be aware of some severe weather in Ohio today. It's certainly possible. The north central U.S., not a whole lot going on until you get to about mid-late afternoon, and then you get numerous showers and storm activity. I just don't think much of this is going to reach severe limits. So I would say between this afternoon throughout the evening hours, basically from western to central sections of the Dakotas and Nebraska, we'll see shower and storm activity. These will kind of shift the directional pull and actually work south to north as you get into the evening hours. And then they'll try to dwindle into the eastern portions of all those states I just mentioned. But I think as you get into the overnight hours, you'll just have a more organized shower and heavy rain activity in areas of southern North Dakota, northern South Dakota. And then we're waking up to some rain in the Dakotas a little bit. The Rockies, I think you'll get a lot of storm development. We'll stop it here. It's around 3 to 4 p.m. Rocky time. And you got some storms that are possible in southern Nevada that become more widespread in Utah, anywhere in the state of Utah, especially central and kind of southwest Utah, eventually into southern Utah, a lot of storms. But Wyoming today, widespread downpours. Some of these could be in the form of storms. Some of these could produce hail. In fact, I know a lot of these will produce hail. I could see I could see this being on a day where you get hit by a storm up here in Wyoming and it covers the ground with hail. Same thing down here in Colorado. In eastern Colorado, you guys could get some storms that could produce hail. And also, and like I said, the western portions of the Dakotas and Nebraska also. But these will produce a lot of rain. Cold air aloft, in fact, enough to where you're going to get a little snow in some of these higher elevations of Wyoming. But a lot of rain is going to fall in this area, a more consolidated area, a chunk of rain, if you will, in Wyoming as you get into the early morning hours of tomorrow. But a lot of rain could fall in this region. Wyoming, 1 to 2 inches of rain, probably 3 inches of rain right here in the middle of Wyoming. Some of this could fall in the form of snow, more organized area, maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain in North Dakota. But a lot of rain is going to fall. And then check this out, guys. A little bit of snow. I mean, we're getting into mid-June. It's not totally uncommon, but geez, some of these higher peaks could get 8 to 12 inches of snow. So, still snowing out here. Still snowing. Temperatures, 60 to 70s in the northeast, 70s, 80s for the most part in the southeast, except if you're in Florida. High humidity into the 90s, very uncomfortable conditions, especially in South Florida. The Midwest, the Mississippi Valley here, 80s and 90s, very warm. But you get close up here to the upper Midwest, it cools off very quickly with some cloud cover. Temperatures only in the 50s, even some 60s. Maybe highs not getting out in the 40s in areas of the UP and Michigan. But you work your way west into the plains, northern plains, 80s, 90s, some 70s. Closer you work towards the Great Lakes, the cooler it gets. Very hot, very uncomfortable in Texas, where heat indices will get well over 110 degrees, much below average across the West. Everybody out west, well below average temperatures are expected. It just depends on where you are geographically. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Thank y'all for the support. It's been a very active June so far. So business as usual. The channel's doing pretty good. So thank y'all for tuning in, especially for you folks who take the time to spend 30 minutes to watch these entire videos. It means the absolute world to me. God bless all y'all. Stay safe out there tonight, and I'll talk to you again soon. God bless.